Hola everybody and welcome to Viva Spanish, the podcast. I'm Lee, founder of Viva Spanish, Spanish teacher, occasional coffee enthusiast, and someone who spent years helping people move beyond simply learning Spanish to actually using it. Because, let's be honest, most of us didn't decide to learn Spanish because we dreamt of memorizing irregular verbs or arguing about the subjunctive. We wanted to order tapas without panicking, chat with locals on holiday, feel more confident when we travel, maybe even build a life in Spain. And that's exactly what this podcast is all about. Each week we'll explore practical Spanish, useful phrases that people really use, insights into Spanish culture and life in Spain, and the lessons I've learned from years of teaching, living in Madrid and helping thousands of students gain confidence speaking the language. Whether you're just starting out with your first hola or you're already comfortably chatting over a café con leche, you're in the right place. So grab yourself a brew or perhaps something a little more Spanish, and let's spend a bit of time improving your Spanish and understanding the people and culture behind the language. Bienvenidos. Let's get started. One of the things that struck me most when I first moved to Spain wasn't the weather, not the food, not really even the language. It was how willing people seemed to be to talk to anybody, anywhere, pretty much any time. You'd be standing in a queue, conversation. Waiting for a bus, conversation. Buying bread, conversation. Halfway through ordering a coffee and suddenly somebody's asking you where you're from, why you're in Spain, and whether you've tried the tortilla from the bar across the road. As a Brit, I found this slightly unsettling because British people often treat conversation with strangers a bit like a hostage negotiation. We don't want to get it wrong. We don't want to bother anybody. We don't particularly want to be bothered. We communicate primarily through sighs, raised eyebrows, and comments about the weather. Yet in Spain, there often seemed to be an assumption that having a conversation was completely normal, even expected. And the longer I lived there, the more I really started to appreciate it. Because I can remember sitting in cafes in Madrid, noticing how often conversations would just start naturally. Nobody particularly seemed to need a reason. Nobody needed an introduction. Nobody needed a formal invitation. People simply talked. And what fascinated me was that these interactions weren't always deep or meaningful. Sometimes they were completely trivial. But perhaps that's the point. Not every conversation has to change your life. Sometimes it's just a human moment. First phrase for today. ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? One of the first questions many Spaniards will ask you. ¿De dónde eres? And not because they're interrogating you, they're curious, interested, open. And one thing I've always liked about Spain is that curiosity feels genuine there. People want to know your story. I think many language learners believe fluency is about speaking. I'm not convinced it is. I think fluency is often about being interested. The people that I know who communicate best aren't necessarily the ones with the broadest vocabularies. They're the ones who ask the questions the best they can, the ones that listen, the ones that make other people feel interesting. And I think that's true in any language. One thing Spain taught me was that conversation doesn't need a purpose. Sometimes we talk just because we're human, not because we're networking, not because there's something for us to gain from someone else, not because we're solving a problem, just because talking to people is one of life's pleasures, simple pleasures, free pleasures. We're more connected digitally than ever, yet many people feel increasingly disconnected in real life. Maybe part of the answer isn't more tech, maybe it's more conversation. Here's another phrase for you today. Caer bien. Caer bien. It's like to make a good impression, to like somebody. Me cae bien. I like him. Me cae bien. She seems nice. It's one of those wonderfully useful expressions that appears everywhere, and What's really interesting is how quickly Spaniards will decide if les cae bien or not. There seems to be a greater emphasis on warmth, on humor, on personality, on connection, rather than just credentials. And another favorite thing of mine about Spain was just the direction, the way that conversations could wander. So you could start talking about football and ending up discussing somebody's cousin, and then be talking about holidays, then politics, then food. Then somehow you find yourself receiving recommendations for a village that you've never heard of in the middle of absolutely nowhere that you've ever heard of. The conversation didn't have a destination though. And that's possibly what made it enjoyable, perhaps. Tener don de gentes is a really nice phrase. It's to be a people person, to be good with people. And it's a great phrase because it reminds us that communication isn't just about grammar. It's about connection. Some people have an incredible don de gentes. They make you feel comfortable, interesting, valued. And that's definitely a skill worth developing in any language in which you wish to communicate. The older I get, the more I realize that life's quality is determined by the relationships we have. And relationships are built through conversations, not perfect conversations, just conversations. The quick chat in the cafe, the random discussion at the bus stop, the unexpected exchange with a stranger. Sometimes those moments stay with us far longer than we'd expect. And perhaps that's one of the reasons I love living in Spain so much. People seemed more willing to create those moments with you. And honestly, the world felt richer because of it. Just remember, nobody speaks Spanish fluently by waiting until they're ready. So order the coffee, start the conversation, make the mistakes, and enjoy the process. Thank you for spending this time with me. Como siempre, la próxima vez, más y mejor. Hasta luego.